Today we will be solving multi-step equations with parentheses. So we have to undo these grouping symbols in order to solve. So let's take a look at our first problem here. When I have this -4 on the outside of the parenthesis, that means it's being multiplied by that expression. And so in order to eliminate the parentheses, I'm using the distributive property. Multiplying -4 by 2 makes -8. -4 by the negative y makes a positive 4y, and this all equals 8. So now I've isolated that variable a little bit further by getting rid of the parentheses, so I'm going to do some more steps to isolate it even more by moving that 8 to the other side. That leaves me with 4y equals 16, and then from this point I can divide by 4, and I'll have my answer. Y is equal to 4. Next problem is very similar, just one extra step. So first thing you're going to have to do is use that distributive property, just like we did on the last problem. That leaves me with 4x minus 8, but then I have this plus 4. So I'll have to combine some like terms on the right-hand side. Notice the sign in front. Always circle the sign along with the number when you're collecting like terms. And that leaves me now with an 8 equals 4x minus 4. So from this point, we can go ahead and add the 4 to both sides, and so that leaves me with 12 equaling 4x. So just have one more step, divide by 4, and it gives me my answer. So in this case I have x equals 3. So the next problem is a little bit trickier because we have this 1 and then this minus sign right in front. So this means the opposite of this expression inside the parentheses. You could always put a 1 between the minus sign and the parenthesis and it doesn't change the value. And it's a good way to do this because this way it shows you that you need to distribute that -1 over this addition. So you don't want to subtract first because that's not what order of operations says. Order of operations says to multiply before adding or subtracting. So now we have 1 minus r minus 2 equals 9. Notice that the signs inside the parentheses just switched when we got rid of the parentheses using that distributive property. So from this point we're going to combine the 1 and that -2. So we now have -r minus 1 equals 9. So from this point we have 2 steps to go. We got to add the 1 to both sides first. And as I said, there's 2 steps because we still have that minus sign in front of the r. So in order to get rid of that, you can multiply or divide by a -1, and that gives us our answer of r equals -10. So the next problem's a little bit tougher. It's got a 5y minus 2, but notice again the -2 is being multiplied by the expression of y minus 6. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take that -2 and distribute it over that subtraction. So what I'm left with is a 5y minus 2y plus 12 equals 43. Notice it's plus 12 because the two negatives make a positive. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect the like terms. This time I'm collecting the variable terms, and they're opposite in sign, so I'm going to subtract. I'm left with a 3y plus 12 equals 43. So from that point, I just have to subtract the 12 from all sides. And so when I do that, I now have 3y equals 31. And so from this point, I just have to divide by the 3. It doesn't go in evenly, so we'll just leave it the way it is. Y equals 31 over 3. Now taking a look at the next one, we have 2 distributive properties we have to perform here. So I'm going to take this positive 2, distribute it over the x minus 7, and just as I had done before, 4 over the x plus 1. So what's left over is this 4x plus 4, and then a positive 2x minus 14, and all equals 50. So we have some combining to do on the left-hand side. So we're going to combine the 4x and the 2x, makes a 6x. And then we're going to combine the 4 and the -14 to make a -10. And so from that point, we can go ahead and add the 10 to both sides. So we'll have to do an opposite operation there. And that leaves us with this 6x equals 60. So from that point, just one step. We're going to take that 6 and divide it on both sides to cancel out that multiplication of 6. It leaves us with 10 as the answer. Look at our next one here. We're going to take this negative sign and distribute it over that addition. So again, remember, just as I had done before, it's like a -1 being multiplied by the 4y and the 8. So what that'll do is it'll switch the signs inside the parentheses. So when you eliminate the parentheses using that distributive property, we'll end up with just the opposite signs in this case. 10y minus 4y makes 6y. Bring down that minus 8, it equals -20. So from that point, all we have to do is add 8 to both sides. So I add 8 to -20, and notice they're opposite in sign, so I end up having to subtract. So I bring down the 6y equals -12, and then just the last step of dividing by 6. So remember that 1 negative makes a negative, so when I do the division, I'm left with -2. Well, those are the problems that you're going to see on tonight's homework. Good luck.